You're watching Hip Hop Vancouver. I'm John Z, and here with me is DJ Ztrip.
What's up, man?
Yeah, what's up? Clearly the stars have aligned because two of the world's most famous Zs are in the same place at the same time. It's good to see you, my friend.
ZZ Trip.
Well, I'm a little more famous than he is, but like, you know, whatever. Who's counting?
Man, I'm working up, chipping away at it.
Yeah, man, welcome back to Vancouver.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you seem to make a couple trips a year to this city.
I love it here, man. I almost bought a house here about 8 years ago when the prices were good, and I just never did it, and now I regret because it's like if I were to try and buy a spot here now, I'd have to cut off an arm.
Yeah, well, we love you here in Vancouver.
Love
Happy
to be
you
here.
back.
Love Whistler. Love the folks here. This is actually, it's funny. I was having a conversation on the way over here. This was one of the first cities or towns that I ever branched out of outside of, like, you know, when you cut your teeth and you get started.
Right.
Vancouver was the first place that I went outside of my state lines.
Right.
And played the Crispy Biscuit show with Kilo C.
What up?
And Incredible Ease.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was the first. That was like my first. So I don't know how many years ago that is, but that's like, you guys are. It's always fun to come back here, man. I love it.
Yeah. Now we're in Canada, and we're actually both pronouncing our names incorrectly.
Zed.
So I should be John Zed, and you should be DJ Ztrip. Is that something you've considered, going by DJ Ztrip when you tour in Canada?
When I first went to the UK and I was over there, and we were doing a radio show. Someone was interviewing me. They're like, "Yeah, we're here with Ztrip." I'm like, and in my mind, I'm like, you know, nudging my homeboy, like, he's not. I'm like, "Yeah, man, Ztrip." He's like, "Yeah, right, Ztrip." And I was like, and we did that for like 2 minutes until I figured out that Zed is how people pronounce Z.
That's how you
places.
found it.
That's how I found. I had no clue. You know, I mean, how was I supposed to know? Like,
yeah.
You know. So, but now I embrace it. I love it. In fact, when I come to Canada, I love the Ztrip.
Well, we love Ztrip. We love Ztrip. However you want to say it, we love
Zed.
Talk about your history working with Vancouver DJs. You mentioned Kilo C, and kind of fast forward to some other hometown fellas that come to mind are DJ Headspin, Marvel, Flip Out.
Yeah, man. Vinyl Richie. I mean, it goes on and on. You know, it's not even just about Vancouver DJs, but it's Canadian DJs. Mm-hmm. A-Track, Kid Koala, you know what I mean? Like, you guys have got some really incredible talent, and have always had it up here.
Speak on that, like the talent here in Vancouver.
It's not just the DJs, but it's the MCs, you know, Swollen Members, and, you know, dudes, the Lab Rats. I remember, you know, those guys
Rascals.
making beats. Yeah, the Rascals. Like, but, you know, in particular, the production side, I used to, as a DJ, you always gravitate towards the beats. The rhymes are always dope, too, but, you know, Cardinal Official, all the different, you know, cats, man. It's like there's you Meister Fresh West. We could go on and on. To me, I've always had an eye and an ear open for it because, again, like I said, I came here first, so I got to sort of see what was going on here and was like, well, this is kind of dope. I had no clue. And the interesting thing that I loved about it, the fact that you have to play a certain amount of Canadian music on your stations is incredible because that's how people like Swollen Members, I think, got embraced a little bit more because something like that isn't really dictated in the States, so you end up sort of getting just whatever's hot, they just shove down the throat. But the fact that you kept it sort of core and had to, you know, by law, had to play a certain percentage of not just hip-hop artists, but Canadian artists, made me be sitting there watching the TV, you know, waiting, you know, in between gigs or whatever when I came here frequently and getting exposed to different artists that I would not have known about because they're not on my radar, and the fact that they're in rotation here made me feel like, well, I'm not just crossing a border in North America. I'm actually crossing a border into a different culture, you know, musically. It really is. It's not just hip hop dudes. It's everybody up here. Like there's something in the water or in the trees.
Yeah,
as they say, that just you guys have you have your own flavor, and it's always dope. And a little bit of it I feel has rubbed off on me over the years because I love coming here and love hanging here, and you know. Sean C, shout out to him. He was one of the first guys who ever brought me up here as a promoter. Yeah. You know, Richards on Richards. You know, like there's history that I've got here, and I love it. And I'm you know, even coming back and doing something like tonight is just fun for me, man. It's like we could do the Commodore big, or we could do something really grimy and small. I'm down for all of it.
Yeah, dope. Well, it's pretty clear at this point in your career that you really don't have any points left to prove, in my opinion. Anyways, if you were to quit today, I would think that you're still going to be cemented as one of the best DJs to ever do it.
I appreciate that. Yeah. But you know, even with that, and as much as I appreciate that, and I've had accolades, America's Best DJ, all these different things, they're all at some point, you know, you take that in as that's cool. Like, thank you, people, for recognizing that or you know, putting that, you know, in my world. But at the same time, I'm always still trying to better myself every time I go out and do it, or just trying to evolve or figure out a way to expand this and keep continually trying to really just push myself. So after a while, all the titles and the labels and the everything good or bad becomes irrelevant to me, because it's just about how can I better myself? How can I put out something that's better than the last project I did? You know what I mean? And that to me is the thing that fuels me. How do I continue to evolve and leave my footprint in this? You know what I mean? In a sense that it's like, that's really the biggest concern is how do I leave? How do I exit when I do exit? You know, God forbid, knock on golden gun. But you know, when I do exit, that I've made a dent in this bitch. You know what I mean? Like that's really all I'm sort of like, and to try and just continue to evolve and push it. You know what I mean?
Sounds like what keeps you motivated and going, and not just passing the torch and throwing the flag in, is yourself. Really,
that's it. I mean, like I every day I try and go, how can I learn more? You know, I mean, it's funny because a lot of DJs who end up getting some sense of status, or producers, whoever it is, you sort of get you have the ability to be comfortable. You get the ability to be comfortable. You can lay back and be like, well, I've done all this work. Let my rep sort of push it. You know, and that's cool. And there is sort of, you know, a little bit of that precedes you when you walk into a spot. You know, that's awesome. You know, that people know you, they recognize you from like a video or a thing. That's dope. But for me, I'm still impressed and humbled by the fact that I'm even able to still do this for a living. And so it's got me in the dojo every so often looking on fucking YouTube, trying to learn like Ableton tricks or whatever the fuck it is, like everybody else in the trenches. You know, as much as my name is out there and I've had some success with this, I'm still very much a student.
Now, recently I seen on your Twitter that you actually retweeted DJ Day's tweet, and I quote, that there's a supreme wealth of ego and a serious lack of mentorship in the DJ community, and that does not bode well for anybody, unquote. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
A good person that I always look to is Qbert. Qbert is an incredible DJ, friend, mentor, you know, everything to me, because I look at him and I go, this dude took this secrecy out of some of what he did and exposed it to everybody and said, here's how you do it. Here's the songs and the breaks, and here's the break records we use, and learn how to do it yourself. And it's very much, did tutorials, did classes, had a school, very much about trying to teach. And to a degree, I try and do that as well. Anytime somebody reaches out or asks me, you know, especially on like Facebook or whatever, you know, everyone's constantly, we're all guilty of like, here's my flyer for fucking this show. Here's my, you know, vote for this, do this, go to this show, buy this fucking thing, download that. It's like we're constantly like, hey, everybody, do this work for us. But at the same time, when somebody hits us and says, hey, man, how the fuck do I do this? I try my hardest, and it's very difficult, but I try my hardest to stop, take that moment, even if it's just one person and I have 2 hours before a flight or something, and go, okay, dude, here's what you need to know. You need to know this. You need to figure this out. You need to take this, and don't be discouraged by that, and try this, and don't, you know, and just basically lay out the blueprint the best you can, best I can, at least to sort of like leave it in their court and go, now you do the work. I will say that with DJ Day's tweet, I was like, amen, dude, because there's not enough of us taking, you know, young ones on and taking them under the wing. You know, I would love to actually take somebody under the wing, but it's also about like, I can't just take like knocks on the door, like, hey man, I'm really dope, take me under your wing. It's got to be like that guy or that chick or whoever you see that's at that club or that thing where you're like, that's the person. You come with me. Trust me. Just come with me. I'm gonna sink all my energy into you. It's really just each one teach one. It's very much a you know, that's a thing I learned from reggae and from you know, from hip hop early on, was just, you know, the concept of everybody takes somebody under their wing and pushes them forward. Because it's not about self. It's really about this whole collective of all of us pushing this culture up and trying to get over it. It's a world
community,
right? It really is, man, especially in this day and age.
Global
now that
community.
Everyone, we're all connected. It's but I think that's what Day said was very very much at a point. You know what I mean? And the fact that he put that out there. I also have to shout out Jazzy Jeff. He's been one of the dudes who, when I met, I didn't even know that he knew who I was. And when he told me he was a fan of mine, I was like, what the fuck? Because I grew up listening to him. So we became friends over time. But the fact that he's been doing so much for the community as well, with things like the playlist retreat and inviting people into his home and trying to push the boundaries there are still mentors out there. There
Yeah.
are still people out there who want to share and teach.
Yeah.
It's just that hopefully there's plenty of people who want to learn
Yeah.
and actually want to learn and do the work.
So moving on, you did mention Jazzy Jeff, and they're of course Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince, a very notable rapper and DJ duo. Eric B, Rakim come to mind, Pete Rock and CL Smooth, Guru and Premier. But off that list is often DJ Ztrip and LL Cool J.
Yeah, man. How'd that happen?
How did that happen? So talk about your relationship with LL Cool J and how you guys started doing music together.
LL, he somebody had reached out to me and him and about doing a show, kind of like like one of the shows that are out there, like the Voice or something like that.
Okay.
They wanted him to host. They wanted me to be the DJ. And we took the meeting. And in taking the meeting, first time meeting him, I was like, "Hey, man, I'm a fan. We're both from Queens. We were both born in the same area." And we were having a conversation. And during that conversation, my manager had mentioned that I was headlining a Red Bull stage at South by Southwest. And she was like, "Hey, you should come out and do a guest spot." And LL at the time hadn't really been touring. It'd been probably 3 or 4 years since he'd even done many shows. He was really concentrated on the acting thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really freaked out because I was like, this is the second time I was meeting him. Like, we're just meeting each other. But credit to her for being an amazing manager for putting that out there and seeing the sight of like the foresight of like these two should connect.
Right.
He was like, yeah, maybe. He kind of laughed it off. I was like, oh my God, we totally ruined this connection. Like you just don't ask somebody right out of the box to like guest spot on a thing. So a couple weeks later, I got a call and my manager's like, guess who's the best manager ever? I'm like, you, what's up? She's like, LL's down to do it. I'm like, what? So she's like, yeah, in 2 days, you got to go to the studio and you guys are going to rehearse. You're only going to do Mama Said Knock You Out. That's the only one he's agreed to do. I was like, cool. So a night or two before we're supposed to go to the studio to actually rehearse for this, for him to be the guest spot on my set at South by, I'm sitting there. I'm like, Mama Said Knock You Out. Cool, that's easy. There's an instrumental for that. All the DJs know this. It exists. It's cool. But what if we are asked to? What if people like losing their mind and they want more?
Right.
We gotta do Rock the Bells. We gotta do I Need Love.
Yeah.
So as a DJ, again, you know that the instrumental to Rock the Bells doesn't exist on 12-inch because it never came out. So.
Word.
I'm looking around online. I'm looking at videos of him rapping over the years, over 20 some odd years. And every time he's rapping, he's always rapping over the vocals of Rock the Bells, which made me realize he doesn't have an instrumental of this. Because that's the deal. Like when I worked with Rakim, same thing. When I met him, he was rapping over I Ain't No Joke, the vocals, until at some point I sat down with him. I was like, it's a kick, it's a snare, it's the James Brown thing. I'm like, I'm gonna remake I Ain't No Joke for you. Here you go. Because as a fan, there's nothing worse than watching an MC and you wanting to hear the purity of that,
right?
And hearing them rap over their thing and wondering why, in this day and age, are you rapping over your own lyrics?
Yes.
I saw that there was no instrumental of this, and I realized I had all the samples. There's a treble funk sample. I have an 808, so I was like, I think I can remake this. You know what I mean? With the scratches, everything. So I sat down. It took me 6 hours, and I got it verbatim to be as close as I could get it under the circumstances with having 2 days to make it. And went to the studio, didn't tell him. We did Mama Said Knock You Out 3 or 4 times. He was like, yeah, this is good. Feels good. Cool. I'm like, well, we got another hour here. How about we do Rock the Bells? He's like, all right. So we launch into it. And as soon as he goes, you've been waiting and debating for oh so long. And he hears that he doesn't hear his vocal for the first time in 25 years.
Wow.
He looks around, but he still keeps rapping and gets to the chorus, Rock the Bells. And I'm cutting, scratching. He looks over at me. He's like, where'd you get this? I'm like, I made it. And he's like, what? The king. And it goes into the next verse.
That's wild.
And we did the whole thing. And he's sweating. He's like, you made this? I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm kind of a purist. I can't really have you. I can't be up here with you and do a disservice. Like, you're LL. Like, we got to do this right. So let's do it again. We did that fucking thing 6 times in a row. The whole shit.
Oh, word.
Because he just got it out of his system. I'm losing my mind. He's like, what else you got in that computer? I'm like, and we started. And it cracked him open and it got me open. And we did the show. We did Mama Said Knock You Out, I Need Love, and Rock the Bells. And we did I Need Love over Sweet Home Alabama. I threw a breakbeat over that. And that was because we were down in the South. So I figured we'd do that. It was dope. He had it was amazing for both of us.
Yeah, yeah.
And we both got off stage and was like, yo, there's something there.
In your opinion, how important is it for a DJ to have a welcoming, outgoing personality on stage in addition to having the skills and the good music selection, as opposed to, say, the reserve DJ with their head down, just focusing on the music? I mean, is personality important, or is it mostly just about the music?
I'm very mindful of the fact that I have a career because people enjoy what I do. So I covet that. I hold that very high. Like, I don't take any fan or friend or anybody who is into what I do lightly. And if I, that to me is what I think keeps it moving, because I know when I see people who I'm a fan of and they stop and give me the time to, like, let me tell them how their music affected me. It's very one hand washes the other, and if it's just one hand, then it's not a good balance. That's the way I feel personally. But there's also the other deal of some people are fucking geniuses, but they're inverted weirdos, and they don't know how to be social. Yeah. So you can't shit on them for this is how they get it out.
Right.
Just respect it for what it is.
Yeah.
I've met people who I've been fans of, and they've been amazing. We become friends. I've met people who I've been fans of, and they've been complete dicks.
Yeah.
And I used to take a lot of that shit personally, but after a while, it's like, you know what? I just chalk it up to, well, maybe you just have a switch that doesn't know how to switch to that. You know what I mean? But ultimately, I think at the end of the day, the music is what matters the most. You know, and the connection. If you have that in some way, shape, or form, consider that the jump off. And anything above and beyond that is awesome. Anything below that, it's music first, though.
Yeah. Well, I would say he's a DJ with a great personality. He's a mentor, and he's LL Cool J's fucking DJ. So what the fuck? Yeah, DJ Ztrip or Ztrip.
Ztrip out here.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, brother. Thank you for having me.
Yes. This is Hip Hop Vancouver. Shouts out to Fortune Sound Club and this gold AK-47. I'm John Z. Peace.